We know that Tarkov's next wipe is coming sometime in August, but with everyone focused on the pre-wipe, today I'm going to show you what I'm thinking about for when the patch finally does hit. Before we continue, today's video is sponsored by the Ridge wallet, and I have yet another style to show you, which is the Forged Ember, which I think is awesome. I swapped over to the Ridge wallet and key case a while ago and couldn't be happier. They hold up to 12 cards super securely and come in a ton of cool designs. We have a keycard holder in Tarkov, so why not extend that to your real life? This version comes with a cash strap rather than a money clip, but it comes down to personal preference ultimately, and as always they block unsolicited RFID reading. One of the best things about the Ridge products is the build quality. The wallet is really light but so much more robust than a traditional one and is literally the size of a card, so it will fit into your pocket really neatly. Mine looks good as new after about 6 months, and there are well over 30 colours and styles, so you can pick the perfect look for you. Same goes for the key case. This holds 2 to 6 keys and my car key goes on a little ring at the back. After reviewing my massive wad of keys, I only needed, 2 of them, and I still feel a bit silly lugging around 13 keys and 4 random barcode tags for years. The Ridge team are so confident that you'll be converted that they have a 99-day test drive period, after which you can get your money back if you don't love it, and a lifetime warranty if you do. You can get the best offer using my link and code GigaRidge at the checkout to save 10% on your order, so that's ridge.com/GigaRidge to join the 50,000 strong 5-star rated proud owners of the Ridge wallet. Although the winter update contains most of the juicy content like armor hitboxes, vaulting and left shoulder shooting, we shouldn't discount some of the items for the summer wipe. I've been asked many times on stream what my most anticipated feature is on the roadmap, and from a gameplay perspective outside of the new guns like what I like to think of as the full auto Mosin, which we'll get to shortly, I honestly think that the quick pistol swap could be the biggest. We saw this demonstrated on Tarkov TV, which shows that in the original animation, the time taken from the beginning of the transition to the moment that the pistol reappears on the screen is 1.3 seconds. The updated animation instead has the pistol returning onto the screen in 0.9 seconds, which is a 30% increase. This is the same for both the first scenario with full arm stamina and also in the second one with low stamina. An important note here, some saw this footage and thought that the fast pistol transition was going to cause our PMC's hand to shake afterwards, i.e. there's some inaccuracy penalty after switching, but this is only present in the scenario where stamina gets to 0 due to the transition. It does raise another point though, which is that the fast swap eats nearly 50% of the stamina bar. We don't know what the endurance skill levels of the PMC in the showcase are, but needless to say it will take a chunk when used, although that is probably well worth it when your life is on the line. I'm sure we will get both regular and fast swap binds for different keys separately, otherwise it would be a bit strange to lose all of your stamina just by swapping normally between guns. To put all this in some kind of context, I grabbed the AK-102 that I had on my player and measured the reload speeds. A regular reload is around 3 seconds and a fast reload is 2.5. However, we have yet another little trick here, which is that the reload on many guns can actually be animation cancelled right at the end once the magazine has gone in. Using the first possible shot timing instead gives us a more accurate measurement, which is 2.5 seconds for a standard reload and 2.1 seconds for a fast reload. With the current pistol swap at 1.3 seconds, you can see why many would prefer just to reload their primary weapon with probably much better ammo and mag capacity versus trying to swap to a secondary, but decreasing this down to 0.9 seconds might be the edge needed to tip this balance. Even late on in a patch, some pistols like the 5.7, the Shrimp, or heaven forbid the RSH Revolver can take ammo that is still useful against armoured PMCs. Speaking of weapons, there are 2 sets in particular that we should bear in mind for the next patch. Firstly, the SVT and the AVT, which are coming to a budget player near you. These new guns will fire the same bullet as the Mosin, the SVD and the SV98, which is terrifying enough as it is, but the AVT is also going to be fully automatic, which we have never seen before in Tarkov for this caliber. 7.62x54R is commonly found in Raid, and even the 2 most basic cartridges, T46M and LPS, are pretty scary stuff, clearing through class 4 armor easily on the first hit and dealing over 80 damage per hit. These 2 guns probably only come with a mag capacity of 10 and unlikely to be featured at level 1 traders, but even still I am reminded a lot of the old Vepr Hunter, at least prior to the durability update and subsequently the release of the RFB, which practically surpassed it. It's that classic combination of best ammo in the worst gun, which has been the advice for new and inexperienced players for a long time. 2 shots should be enough to take down most PMCs in mid-tier gear, and with SNB craftable at Workbench 2 means that it will stay relevant right into the endgame. I actually think this is a pretty good thing, to be honest, as many of these budget choices for punching up have been eroded over time due to ammo limitations, and this may well bring an extremely powerful tool to the table for budget players to get the upper hand. I'm not quite as excited for meeting scavs with the SVT though. If they can spawn with it, it might be relatively cheap on the fleet too, so I guess we'll have to see. Another one to keep an eye on is the RFB itself. Since M80 was moved to Peacekeeper 4, a decision that I still think was one step too far by the way, most people gave up on 7.6.2 NATO until later on in the wipe, but this time around I think things could be a little bit different. Some of you may remember that one of the relatively unused cartridges, BCP FMJ, was rejigged with TCWSP, but this meant that FMJ was left with 83 damage and 35 pen. However, at the point that they did it in the wipe, it was still too late and no one was using it. Early wipe though, this is the same pen as 7.6.2 PS, which is widely considered extremely good and borderline overpowered by others, but with 26 more damage and accessible at both Skier 2 and Jaeger 2. Not to mention that semi-auto out of the RFB does feel really good. As for the RFB itself, while the cash purchase was moved to Skier 3 this wipe, the barter for 2 gas analyzers is still on Skier 2 and likely makes it pretty cheap early on. 20 round mags are on Peacekeeper 2 as well, which I think will solidify it as a decent weapon at level 2 traders again. The only other thing to mention about early game guns is the leg meta changes that we saw recently, as the legs now only distribute 70% of incoming damage to the rest of the body when blacked versus 100% previously. This has hurt weapons that fire low damage bullets the most, for example the PPSH. Moving from 7 shots to kill to 10 is not that big of a deal in some scenarios, but it will make the difference between snagging a kill or not sometimes, or it might lead you just to receive more damage in a head-on engagement, that kind of thing. Don't let this put you off entirely, as high damage weapons like shotguns and fast firing guns like the PPSH can still certainly work very well, but it's just worth remembering. So next up is the potential changes to progression. We have the catch-all quest rebalance here, so it's really anyone's guess as to what this means, but clearly we have to look out for things moving around like last wipe, where Peacekeeper's questline got unlinked from the flash drive quest. One thing that is not really critical but kind of interesting is that because BSG removed the need to identify every single item in the game right from the word go, you can no longer get to level 2 simply by going through all the trader and fence items to get Jaeger on your first raid. This was a very popular strategy due to how stacked customs usually is at the beginning and the fact that you could buy the 133 shotguns from Jaeger for the prep quest straight away, but it doesn't matter too much because you'll probably get level 2 in one raid anyway so long as you don't die. Another common play for the early wipe is the stashes, as you can get decent armor and weapons in them well before the flea market, but we won't necessarily be able to count on the old routes anymore. Randomized loot containers may extend to stashes as well. I'd be surprised if it didn't, and to be honest, I really think it should. Given these are systematically farmed even more than regular boxes, it will be a big change if these start moving around or are even just dynamically placed on raid entry. Moving on to Streets of Tarkov, this map is getting its first expansion one patch after being released, and this could dramatically change the way that it plays. It really is worth getting some experience on the map itself before this happens, because with the arrival of the new boss, it's likely that the Lexos area is going to become a no-go zone. Even if all you can do is walk around in offline mode if your system can't handle it right now, hopefully we'll be seeing some more performance updates with the patch to make it playable for more people in the next wipe. As far as we know from the screenshots we have been shown, the expansion will be at the back of the post office building in the top left of the standard streets map and could even extend around to the construction area and the back of Concordia. I think this will be great because that area is already a huge bottleneck, and if the boss is going to sit in the middle of the car dealership with a PKM, mines, snipers and whatever else, this could potentially thin out the areas that we can actually navigate around quite dramatically. Just a word of warning, there are events going on at the moment, so if you do decide to check it out in online mode, don't be surprised if you get ambushed by Chads wielding VSSs as part 10 of the Terror Group Trail questline. Finally, let's simply look forward to speeding up our entry into raids. Using the new loadout preset system, we should be able to gear up for raids in a fraction of the time that it used to take, at least for trader available gear sets, and it hopefully will allow us to set the basics like meds and other consumables so we don't have to do it every single raid. I think having at least one base kit preset with secure container organized and bandages, painkillers and regular meds specified along with a face cover will dramatically save us a ton of time over the long run, even if you have to customize your rig, armor and gun due to availability in the early game. That combined with the new trader UI, which looks great by the way, should significantly improve our general experience, and once the updated matchmaker is finished too, may start to make the pre-raid bit a little bit better. So as usual, a big shout out to all my patrons, and as always, have fun in your raids.